Hi everyone, my name is Cheong. The titles that I would like to talk about is Helping Small Business Cope During COVID-19, a brief survey of the measures implemented across country. First of all, we see the introductions. Small and medium-sized business, we also call it SME, is the backbone of many economies, have been severely affected by the corona pandemic. In US, the European Union and the Southeast Asians SME account for two-thirds of private sector's employment. The United States Small Business Administrations identify small business by their ownership structures, numbers of employees earning an industry. A small business is defined as a business with fewer than 10 workers is recognized as a small office or a home office. We also call as a SOHO. Small business are also defined as those with assets of 10 millions or less. Next, we move to see the company in the travel, arts and culture industry were the main victim of COVID-19 in 2020. And despite being spread from the main burns, construction companies, restaurants, expert service, health service, and retail businesses also struggle. The Small Business Pulse surveys reveal that businesses are operating at below their usual capacities in metro areas in the country. On average, across the 50 largest US metro areas, only 26% of small businesses have sufficient cash flows for at least 3 months, the minimum level assets for a business to continue its operations. Many small businesses proprietors have no choice but to fork out their savings to compensate for the loss of revenue. The objective of this paper is to provide a brief review of current study with regards to the impact of COVID-19 on small businesses across different countries. These surveys of experience elsewhere might provide insight to policy makers in countries that are struggling to cope with the problems on the incentive to consider and the additional incentive that might be necessary to make them effective in their individual country contexts. Given limitations of space, we survey only a limited samples of countries, but their experience will provide a broad enough spectrum of policy to consider and evaluate by stakeholders elsewhere. Next, we move to see literature review. According to OECD, governments and central banks have taken unprecedented monetary and fiscal policy measures to combat the economic impacts because of the COVID-19 pandemic. These policies are usually enforced in a relatively short period and are available to a wide number of beneficiaries. Despite the unexpected nature of the crisis, policymakers have shown flexibility and the ability to change their approach as implementations continue. Additionally, this also involves simplifications of the system and relaxing eligibility requirements. To date, governments have mainly collaborated with banks to channel funding to small and medium-sized businesses, utilizing their networks to reach out to them. According to Lu and ETAL, there are three key initiatives to saving SME in this pandemic, which is comparable to a catastrophe regardless of whether it is in China or somewhere else. The first is to improve the durability of SME, particularly their cash flow, by decreasing their operational costs and giving them access to financing. Second, it is important to help the SME to continue work and operations at the earliest opportunities. Government should reduce restrictions to allow the movement of individuals and products to guarantee that employers can resume workings, necessary materials are accessible, and items can be converted to locations where they are needed. Furthermore, continuing production should be complemented by measures to increase the utilizations. Next, we move to see the methodology. The methodology used for this paper consists of library search of journal. References are based on online database, and the search item was guided by terms such as small business, impact, COVID-19 articles were scanned for their fit with the specific topic of this survey. Next, we move to discussions. To rescue small business and improving their resilience, public-private local partnerships were formed to help the small businesses. Federal government offer more financials to help the small businesses than previously available. The assistance package includes credit to small businesses. For example, one of the aims specific in the Coronavirus Act, Relief and the Economic Security Act, which is comprised of the PPP and the EIDL programs, was to arrange to help the underserved marketplace and underprivileged business owners. Increasing small businesses' access to credit and simultaneous funding was another key approach. This could comprise tax incentives for small businesses that employ persons from disadvantaged categories, initiations of local microcredit funds to that provide finance to local companies, and endorsing structural recognitions that inspire financial institutions to offer fresh or special forms of loan and longer-term ammunitions to assets. Next, we move to see limitations. Our survey was limited to a few countries, and we relied on articles written in English. There is a vast literature in other languages that may have valuable information on our topic, which have unfortunately not looked at it. In conclusion, small businesses are highly affected due to COVID-19 pandemic. The results of this study show that the COVID-19 pandemic is more severe for small businesses. This paper has highlighted a few key incentives undertaken by governments to help small businesses. Although the survey is not complete, it is evidence that in almost all countries, the incentives undertaken are similar in intent to varying in scope. Policymakers must decide the scope based on their capacities and resources available within their own country contents. Thank you. That's all for my presentations.